Welcome to deep space. Yes, this is the Grey Theo Stellar Forge, waypoint 7 of the Distant Worlds expedition. Absolutely stunning place, 17,000 light years from home. 1,000 commanders crossing the galaxy to get to Beagle Point, as I'm sure you've heard, which is 65,000 light years away on the other side of the galaxy, the first original landing point of Commander Eramis, the great legend himself, across the galaxy for the first time in January 3301. I'm not here to discuss Distant Worlds, but I am here to make a video on advanced exploration techniques. If you have been on the trip, or if you've seen my previous video, you will already know the basics by now. But it's time for me to create a video on some of the more advanced techniques so you can become a master explorer and earn your elite status. So without further ado, let us begin. In the previous video, I showed you how to fuel scoop. In this video, I'm going to show you an advanced method of fuel scooping called Swoop'n'Scoop. The way it works is every single jump, you top up your fuel by dipping into the corona of the star, swooping in, filling all the way to max, and then swooping out and initiating your frameshift drive the instant the frameshift drive is ready to be initiated. This way you can cover a lot more ground a lot more quickly. On average, each jump takes about 45 seconds. If you do it properly, you won't overheat, but let me just show you how it works first, then I'll explain some of the caveats involved. What we're going to do is we're going to tilt directly towards the star. We're going to charge it at full speed, which is scary, but then we're going to pull up using orbit lines to make sure we don't go within the exclusion zone of the star and crash and burn and ouch. And we're going to tilt away as soon as we can, and keeping an eye on that horizon. We're going to top up all the way to full, and as soon as that FSD circle is cool, we're going to accelerate and pull away from the star at full speed, and that was actually perfect. And we made it, and we only reached about 86% because that's quite a cool star. Okay, we're about to hit a bright, hotter star, and the method's not going to work. You'll see why. This is a G star. G stars are considered quite hot. So if we start charging our FSD while still in the corona, even quite relatively close, like say we did it now, started pulling away at full speed, watch the temperature gauge. It's going to keep climbing and climbing and climbing, and I'm actually going to abort that because we reached 100. This method, as you can see, does not work on any stars hotter than M or K, and obviously it won't work on non-scoopable stars. So you need to use your brain a bit. It generally speaking, because 95% of all stars are M or K, this works very, very well. But if you're in an area with a lot of hot stars, like say this nebula here, close to the core, then you're going to have to switch back to the regular method if you want to be as efficient as possible and make your way across the galaxy as best as possible. As you can see over there, we can already see the star, so I'm assuming the next one's going to be quite bright. You can usually use that as a guide. If you can't see it at about 30 or 25 light years away, then, or it's very, very dim, it's going to be a cool star. If you can see it, it's going to be a hot star, so you need to rethink your strategy. Basically, what you're doing is you're saving yourself from stopping and refueling and all the inefficiencies that accrue in a situation like that, and instead you are never ever ever stopping. All you're doing is continually moving and charging your FSD as soon as it's called each jump, which is of course the most efficient. You can basically get each jump down to about 45 seconds. Here's an F star. I told you it would be hot, so this is definitely not going to work. What you want to do in these cases is, if you're getting loads of these, then don't even bother. Just accumulate all your jumps in one go. You need to pull away as soon as you can, count to about 3, and then start charging. And let's watch that now. It shouldn't reach 100. So yeah, you can still be fairly efficient. If you're going to get a lot of A's, a lot of F's, then you probably just want to resort to the old method I showed you in the previous video, because the inefficiencies that accrue on 6 jumps add up to the amount of inefficiencies that would happen if you don't bother fueling, and instead you fuel only after every 6 jumps and then pull away. So I'll leave that to your best judgment. Now, you need to bear in mind this technique is not going to work on all ships and all builds. If you're a master explorer, you're going to want one of the master exploring ships. Obviously, if you want to be the type of master explorer that does use one of the crazy ships like a Sidewinder or an Adder or something across the galaxy, then fine. I'm not talking to you. You're still a master. But for people who want to be efficient deep space master explorers using the more efficient techniques, then you want a ship that has an amazing heat efficiency, so generally speaking an Asp or an Anaconda, and some other ships like maybe the Cobra. I haven't been through all of them, so I can't give you a full guide on that, but I'll let you experiment. Otherwise, on top of that, you also need a very good loadout. So you need to firstly have not too much heat being built up. You want your power plant to have a very high heat rating, so an A rating. Remember, power plants have a heat rating as well as a quality and a class. And you want a very good fuel scoop to actually make this worthwhile. If you've got a very bad fuel scoop, then it's not going to work anyway, because you're not going to be able to fill up quickly enough. Remember, you need to practice, and I probably wouldn't practice if you've never done it before and you're already in deep space, because it's very easy to get wrong. You can crash into the star. I actually crashed into the star while making this video. I've edited that out because I don't want you to think I'm bad. But yeah, practice it in local space, and when you get good at it, you can apply it to getting across the galaxy as fast as possible and possibly enter a buckyball run. Okay, while we're on the topic of efficiency, I want to tell you a bit about jump range and how it works. Basically, you've got a base jump range, which is what is given when you build your loadout, and it shows you your jump range in the bottom right hand corner. I can't show you now because I'm nowhere near a station. But the way it works is that when you have less fuel in your tank, you can actually jump further because you are lighter, but the route plotter will never ever take that into account. Why is that? Because the route plotter doesn't know when you're going to be topping up, so it doesn't want to plot a route that you're not going to be able to do. So in order to get around that, if you want to jump to a star that's slightly beyond your jump range, but you can actually reach it, and if you want to know what you can actually reach, there it says jump range. The number that's not in brackets, 32.26, is what you can actually reach currently. Normally, when I'm full, I can only do 31.81. But because I've got a bit less fuel than a full tank, I can actually reach 32.26. If I was completely empty, it'd be 33.58. So how do I reach a star that's over 31.8, but not quite as far as, not beyond the range of 32 point whatever it was just now, 18 I think. So let's find a star that is in that little zone there. There we go. So if I want to jump to this star, normally I wouldn't be able to reach it, but if I select it, to the point where if you've got the nav markers showing, that you've got that orange triangle thing, pyramid, upside down pyramid on top of it, then watch what happens. Remember, I can only jump normally 31.8, and the route plotter will never pick a jump longer than that, but look, I can actually reach it this way. And just to prove to you what would happen, if I try and plot a route to it, like that, see, if I try and plot a route to it, it will actually not be able to plot a direct route, because again, as I said, the route plotter will only take into account your minimum jump range when you've got a full tank, even if you haven't currently got a full tank. So, now there's something else we can learn from this that will help you greatly. If, instead of having the full fuel tank, I've currently, actually it won't show me here, but I've got a fuel tank of 32 tons, which is the maximum an Asp can contain. I'm in an Asp. If you want to do something sneaky, now what you do is you set your fuel tank to the one below, say 16 in my case. Now that's not going to be very efficient. Obviously each jump the route plotter makes is going to be larger, so I can cover more ground more quickly, because remember, the route plotter will take into account the weight when I have full fuel. Unfortunately that's not very efficient, because you're going to have to fuel a lot more often, and even with the swoop and scoop method that's not going to be quite efficient, is it? Because a lot of times you're not going to be able to use that method, you're going to have to keep stopping and fueling, and you're going to make less time rather than more time, even though the jumps themselves are going to be bigger. So what can you do? You find a sweet spot. Now that we've got the fuel modules that you can install into your internal compartments, what you can do is try and find something that's somewhere between 16 and 32 that'll give you a larger jump range but not be too efficient on the fueling. So a lot of people seem to be saying that about 28 tons is good. So you can experiment. I'm not going to be able to actually demonstrate that, so I hope you're able to understand what I'm saying. So the key is, what you want to do is lower your maximum fuel, not all the way down to half, but to something in between, say maybe 28 tons or maybe less. And then your jumps are going to be bigger by the route plotter, and it's still going to be enough fuel that you won't have to top up too often. And if you're using the swoop and scoop method that I explained in the beginning of this video, then you are never actually going to suffer from having a smaller tank, because you are rarely going to be getting close to the bottom of the tank anyway. You're going to be topping it up as often as possible, and it's unlikely that you're going to end up stranded somewhere. I need a build where I've got a vehicle hanger, and a good fuel scoop, and an AFMU, and a shield generator. So in that case I wasn't actually able to do that, but I'll leave it to you. Coming up in part 2 of the Advanced Exploration series, we'll be taking a look at some advanced navigation techniques, including looking at stellar classification, as well as decoding the UC naming conventions. In part 3, we will look at getting good at finding planet types and listening to planet sounds. In the final video, we will look at key bindings, as well as discuss some philosophy about exploration. So long, space cowboys!